Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Victorian Budget 2022 piles on debt to pump money into strained health system. Education Victoria's election year budget will pile on debt to fix the state's beleaguered health system and continue to pump money into education and transport infrastructure while it attempts to claw back a modest surplus in 4 years. More call takers for the strained 000 service and more paramedics are key to the state's $12 billion pandemic repair plan. Net debt is forecast to account for more than a quarter of the state's economy by the 2025-26 financial year. The budget relies on assumptions the economy will be largely unaffected by COVID-19 outbreaks and projects inflation will hover around 3%. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the cracks in the state's health system, with GP shortages, ballooning surgery wait times and deadly ambulance delays exacerbated by coronavirus surges. In a bid to cauterize the growing number of problems in the sector, the centerpiece of Treasurer Tim Paller's eighth budget is a pandemic repair plan forecast to cost $12 billion over the next 4 years. With 000 caught in a deadly crisis, the government has allocated $333 million to recruit 400 new staff for the Emergency Services Telecommunications Authority, ESTA, which has been under scrutiny after at least a dozen people died waiting for ambulances. The budget also includes $4.2 billion for COVID-19 health support, including another $1.1 billion for rapid antigen tests, $698 million for healthcare in the home and $284 million for personal protective equipment. Another $124 million is allocated for Ambulance Victoria to recruit 90 more paramedics. A new 24/7 hospital will be built in politically sensitive Melton, in Melbourne's fast-growing Outer West, which is expected to cost $900 million. There is also $500 million for an expansion of Geelong's Women's and Children's Hospital. A further $236 million will be spent on expanding emergency departments at Aribe Mercy Hospital in Melbourne's West and Casey Hospital in the East. The big health spend includes the $1.5 billion announced in April to reduce the growing elective surgery waitlist. Another $1.3 billion will be spent to implement the recommendations of the state's Mental Health Royal Commission, a continuation of the centerpiece of last year's budget. Education, transport among budget winners in total. The budget has allocated a total spend of $99 billion in the coming financial year. Over the next 4 years, $2.2 billion is allocated for funding not allocated to specific purposes, which in an election year means the state can expect more cash splashed before the November vote. One of the election year sweeteners was announced on Monday, a $250 rebate for energy bill payers if they use the state's electricity comparison website. In a typical Labor budget, education is another big winner, with $1.8 billion allocated for building 13 new schools and upgrading 65 existing education settings. To find more educators to work in those settings, $779 million is allocated to recruit 1,900 new teachers and $131 million is put aside for kindergarten services. But the Australian Education Union said the government had missed the mark with TAFE funding, wanting more than the $83 million currently put aside to help the skills trainer move to a new funding model and help students find places. And $3.5 billion in total will be spent on transport projects. That includes $338 million for more train services, level crossing removals and big build initiatives, $993 million for road upgrades, and $250 million for 12 more V-line trains on the Sharton and Warrnambool lines. The Commonwealth Games is another huge beneficiary, with $2.6 billion allocated between now and the Games to develop infrastructure for the event. As expected, the state's regional hubs will benefit from the Games spend, with new sporting and transport infrastructure to roll out as part of the event. Victoria Police will get another $342 million for 502 new police officers and 50 public service officers. That is less than the 1,200 wanted by the union, but a significant boost to its ranks. As announced in March, casual workers will be able to access sick pay under a 2-year trial estimated to cost about $245 million over that trial period. There is nothing in the budget for what will happen once those 2 years are up. Social and affordable housing is also getting some attention, with $1 billion being made available in low-interest loans to help community housing agencies build up to 6,000 more homes. Net debt to be more than a quarter of state's economy by 2026 to pay for the spending. The state's net debt is projected to keep rising. It is expected to sit at $101.9 billion at the end of this financial year, which would account for 19.8% of the state's entire economy. It is an improvement on the $104.5 billion forecast in the budget update at the end of last